Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, and if you're new here, my name is Kaylin and I wanted to make another video of 10 frugal things to do instead of spending money. I find these videos really inspiring to make for myself as well, and it makes you use your imagination and get creative and think outside the box about things that you can do. So number one of my free things to do is to make your own game. I know this sounds really time consuming and difficult, but it doesn't have to be anything complicated. There have been so many times when I have made my own games just for things like kids' parties. It can be just your unique version of a game that already exists. For example, my daughter had a birthday party and I made truth or dares and just folded them on little pieces of paper and put them in a bowl, and it was a really good kind of conversation starter for her and her friends, and they enjoyed it. And it was if you keep it age appropriate, nothing that's going to be too disastrous for you to deal with later, it's really fun. And I've also made trivia kind of games before, treasure hunts with clues, cryptic clues of how to find things. There's loads of information online about it. Yeah, I have just found it surprisingly easy to do, and it's really satisfying and fun to play a game that you know you've made yourself, and I think other people appreciate the effort you've put into it too, and it's just more personal. Number two of my things to do instead of spending money is to shop only for ideas. I think it can be really dangerous going into shops if you're in the wrong mindset, but I think once you get into a more frugal mindset and you kind of change your habits and strengthen your willpower by doing a no buy or something like that, I find I'm not as easily tempted even after a month of the no buy, and I can look without feeling the need to spend. And I think you can find so much inspiration in window displays and just in looking without actually accumulating things. For example, we were in the National Trust Frugal bookshop recently, and they had a really lovely idea. I thought it would make a really good Christmas present, and I took a little clip, I'll put it in, and it was they had wrapped books in parcel paper, the brown paper, and tied it with a little ribbon, and then they'd written on it a kind of hint about what was contained inside, what the book was about, but without kind of spoiling it or making it immediately obvious. So I think it would be really nice to make something like that for a friend or family, for Christmas or something like that, where you wrap a book, put a little tagline on the wrapping paper of the type of book that it is, but without giving away the title, and it would make a really good stocking filler or even as a main present. And I didn't buy one, even though I thought they looked really cool. I just had a look at them and it gave me ideas and inspiration, and I think that that is a positive you can take away from shopping. It doesn't always have to be something that kind of makes you feel guilty or triggers you to spend money. You can take the positives from it without damaging your finances. You can also take photos while you're out to remind yourself of the things that you've seen, and then you can look back at it later when you're looking for inspiration. And there's just so much creativity to be found whenever you're out and about if you feel you're in the right place to go to a shop without feeling tempted to spend. And I just love seeing people's creativity coming out in displays and things like that. And you can bring a notebook to take notes as well, to remind yourself of things that you can, ways you can adapt it to do at home. For example, you might see an item of clothing you like, but then it makes you think, how can I adapt something I already have at home? Or it reminds you to wear something similar that you already have. And if you just take if you just try and develop that mindset instead of I have to have this, it's really helpful. Number three of my frugal things to do instead of spending money is to learn how to play chess if you don't know already, and I'm one of those people. You can teach yourself it, or you can teach someone else if you already are good at playing it. And you can also join free tournaments in your area if you look it up. We have a kind of community centre in the city centre in Belfast, and they hold free events all the time, but you just have to remember to check their website regularly to keep up with what's going on. And I know every Sunday they have like a chess meeting where people can just come in. It's free entry and you can just play chess with random people when you're there, and it's just a game I've always wanted to know how to play. I might ask my boyfriend to teach me how to play it because we do have a chess set at home and I know he can play it. My dad sort of showed me bits and pieces of it when I was little, but I never really kind of got to grips with it. He used to have like chess nights with a friend of his where it was like he had this French friend who was really into chess like him, and he would come over for dinner and then they would play chess at the kitchen table. And I think it's nice to like sit down and play a game together instead of just like sitting and chatting, like, although there's nothing wrong with that either, but it just adds a bit of interest. Number 4 is to get dressed up for no reason. I say this as I'm sitting looking really scruffy today because I haven't got any makeup on because we're going swimming later, and I just don't see the point in spending time on my makeup if I'm just going to have to take it off again in a couple of hours before I take the girls swimming. But I love to get dressed up for no reason. I like to use the things that I have and not save them just for special occasions. I like to treat every day like it's a special occasion because you just never know like how long you have, and you might as well enjoy the things that you have now instead of saving them and not allowing yourself to use them because you're saving for some kind of imaginary occasion in the future. I just like to put together outfits and play with my clothes and to go through my wardrobe, remind myself of what I have, and also things like jewellery, and just going through regularly, kind of rotating and going through the things that you have to make sure you're actually using them, because I think I have a habit of putting stuff to the back of a cupboard and I forget it's there. But if I make a point of organising it regularly, and I can swap things around and then make use of things that tend to get forgotten about, and it also kind of suppresses your like urge to shop because it feels like you're kind of shopping in your own wardrobe. Number 5 is to revisit old music that you used to like, that you've kind of fallen out of listening to. And I think most people have lots of music like this that they still like, but they've just forgotten about it. Like, I always think that I listen to the same artists like all the time. I have had bands that I have listened to for like 20 years that I still love, but then there are some albums that are maybe a bit more obscure and I just forget that I like them, and sometimes I'll kind of just remember about one randomly, and I like to sit down and listen to the full album and kind of like, it's funny how music brings up memories so clearly. Like, it's interesting to listen to something you haven't heard in a really long time and see what memories kind of like come up in your mind as you're listening to it, because I get really strong visuals from music, and it's funny how I can just feel like I've been transported into a different time. And sometimes that can be a good thing, sometimes it can be a bad thing, but I think it's fun to like sit and rediscover the music that you love, that you've just like kind of fallen out of listening to because you've forgotten about it. And I also like to watch like concerts on YouTube and just like seeing the bands that you love live, like, and seeing the individual concerts. They're all like slightly different from each other, and I just find that like it's one of those activities where if I start it, it will like go on for hours. And the other night, my daughter and we usually watch a cooking video together before she goes to bed, but instead we looked through like old music videos and like live performances from bands and stuff that I liked, and just stuff from that I thought she might like from like the 80s and things like that, but that she wouldn't have seen before. And she was like laughing so much at some of the videos, like the way that people were dressed, the dance moves, like she found them really funny. And it's funny how some stuff just totally goes out of fashion, and when you look back on it, when you weren't there the first time round to see it, where it felt normal to you and you're just seeing it now, it's interesting to me to see it through her eyes and see how humorous she finds it. So that is a really good activity to do. Number 6 is in the same vein, to look for old comedy clips on YouTube. If there are any comedians that you like that you kind of have forgotten about, I find it really fun to go through looking for either stand-up or like random sketches just to like cheer you up. there's nothing like better than laughter to make you feel better. Like no matter how bad you might feel, I think if you laugh really hard at something, it just cures it. Like the other night I wasn't feeling very like energetic or good really, but then after the music like YouTube searches with my daughter, we moved on to watching like comedy, and there was a sketch of like Rowan Atkinson as like, I think he was like Mr. Bean in it, but he was like playing invisible drums, and there was something about it that just sent me into hysterics, and it felt really good to laugh, like, you know, like a really hearty laugh where you're crying and wheezing and stuff. And my daughter was laughing at me laughing more than she was laughing at the clip. But I love to watch really old comedy now and again. And another thing I love is there's like an English program from the 70s called Some Mothers Do Have Them, and I used to watch it at my grandparents' house, and watching it as an adult is different. It's actually way funnier to me now, and I realised I really love like physical comedy and just like mishaps and stuff like that. And yeah, like it just makes you laugh in a really kind of pure way. So I think that that is a really good thing to do instead of just being tempted to spend money to make you feel better. Like it actually kind of like cures your sadness. Number 7 is to have a tea party just for yourself. I think we can like go to a lot of effort like putting together like parties and hosting and things like that when we know people are coming to our house, but we don't do it as often naturally for ourselves. And I think it can be fun to like intentionally have a tea party for yourself. For example, you can use a nice tablecloth, you can put out candles, you can make a pot of tea rather than just like sticking a tea bag in a cup. You can use napkins that you have, you can get your favourite treats to go with it, or bake some scone. And if you think about how much you would spend for afternoon tea out somewhere, like you can create it at home so much more cheaply, and you're comfortable in your environment, and it's like a nice little treat to do for yourself. So I think it's worth doing that, and it's important to make yourself like to give yourself little bits of luxury in your life. You can't feel deprived all the time, especially if you're being really frugal. I think it's important to reward yourself because it keeps you on track and it makes it feel like you're not doing it for no reason. I feel like I'm like gabbing a lot today, like I just feel like everything's taking me forever to say. Number 8 is to have a themed film afternoon, and there are so many ways that you can do this. Like I went through a phase years ago, and in some ways I would like to relive it actually, of being obsessed with film noir, and I really liked old like Hollywood. Like, sorry if you can hear building works in the background, there's like a house being torn apart across the road from me. And I really love like Veronica Lake and Lauren Bacall, and I'm trying to think who else right now, it's hard off the top of my head, like Greta Garbo. I can't think right now, but anyway, I love like The Big Sleep, and I love just the style of it, and that era to me is just like it was such a kind of beautiful classy time. And you can do that with any theme that you like you could have like a sci-fi day, you could have like watching your favorite movies that you loved as a kid and just like feeling nostalgic and having a good like laugh at that and sort of stepping back into your childhood for a day. You could have like an 80s and 90s themed day. There's just like so many ways that you can do it. You could have a period drama day, although I've never been like a period drama person. I don't really enjoy watching it or really reading it. I love the Bronte sisters books, but other than that, I just have never been a fan of like Jane Austen and stuff like that. I've really tried to get into her and I've read a lot of her books, but I've just never been won over by her, and I don't know what it is. Like I always feel like I'm kind of missing out on something, and that if I did appreciate it, that I would really enjoy getting immersed in that whole world, because I do love like historical fiction, and I've always been interested in old buildings and old traditions, and I just feel quite nostalgic for like a past that I wasn't even like alive in. But for some reason period drama just doesn't hold the same appeal for me. But you can basically take any theme you want and Like you can even have a Christmas movie day in July if you want. There are no rules, you can do whatever you like. And my sister would love that actually, because she starts playing Christmas music in like August. She's such a Christmas person. Like I think I'm a Christmas person, but compared to her I'm probably not at all, even though I'm already thinking about putting our Christmas decorations up. My boyfriend would be disgusted to hear that. Number 9 is to walk without any distractions. I really like walking and listening to music or an audiobook, but sometimes it's good to just go without your headphones and to be open to what's happening around you. And I think if you go into town and just wander, it's really like interesting to see like the crazy things you will witness basically. Like I don't know if I just tend to see a lot of like really random stuff or if it happens a lot in Belfast, but like it just feels like there's always something of interest to be seen in your environment, like funny moments, like people's behaviour. Like there was one day I was walking with my mum and my kids and a trailer came off the back of a car and went flying across the road. Like it wasn't funny, it was quite scary, and it was lucky that no one got hurt, but it's like there's always some little dramatic moment when you're out and about, or it could just be something silly. Like there's this guy in town in Belfast and he plays this instrument that to me is like, it sounds kind of like god awful. I don't know what it is. It kind of is like a violin, only it's screechier. Anybody who's from Belfast will know what I'm talking about, but like it's entertaining to watch as long as you don't have to listen to it for too long. Or there'll always be somebody doing something ridiculous. Like I've seen people doing like breaking out into dance in the middle of the street and they're in costume, and it's just like, what are they doing? I just think there are so many funny, interesting and weird things to see out there. There's a lot of weird people in the world. I'm probably one of them, but it provides a lot of entertainment. And finally, number 10 for my things to do instead of spending money is to read something you wouldn't normally be drawn to read. I tend to stick with the same kinds of literature whenever I'm looking for a book, and I think that like you can sometimes restrict yourself and miss out on things by doing that. Like I kind of would quite often assume that I don't like lighter fiction and that I like to read something where you learn a lesson from the book basically, and it's like life-changing in some way. But sometimes you need something lighter than that, and sometimes I think if you fall into a reading slump, it can be because you're too busy in other areas of your life and you don't have the mental capacity for something that's heavy or that requires brain power, and sometimes you just need to switch off and enjoy something and not have to think. And I was really surprised, I mentioned this book in another video, that I liked this book because it's not something I would usually pick. Although I'm interested in kind of like Halloween and witchcraft and like anything like that fits with the season that Halloween takes place in, like I think that it was like a lighter read than I would usually go for, and it was kind of based on this romance between these two characters. I don't want to spoil it, so I won't say too much, but I actually read it really quickly and I found myself reaching for it and wanting to get back into the story, even though there were moments in it when I kind of cringed at parts of the text and thought that it wasn't fully believable in certain ways. I found it hard to put down, and maybe that was just like what I needed in that moment. And I've started reading this book, which I'm really enjoying. It's also probably like a lighter read than I would normally go for in a way, but it's like a murder mystery mixed with like comedy, and I really love it so far. The way it's written is just really funny, and it's kind of kept me hooked, and I want to find out what happens in the end. And I just really like the vibrancy of the cover as well, and I like to get hardbacks from the library. It makes me feel like I'm actually rich and can just buy all the books I want. And I also read this book, which it is more like a typical thing I would read, but it's very short. It's only like 40 something pages, and it's more like a character study than a novel, but I found it really valuable and quite moving, and I think it's just good to step outside your normal kind of comfort zone and to read things that you wouldn't necessarily think to read first, and to take recommendations from people who have like different taste in reading to you as well, because there could be some overlap there, and there's so many booktubers you can look up that will give you like ideas of books, and you can find them at the library or ask them to order them in for you first to save yourself making unnecessary purchases. And yeah, I just think it's a good way to vary your like reading material and just change things up for a while. I hope somebody found this video helpful. Just like, I didn't realize I was in a talkative mood, but apparently I am. And yeah, I'm just feeling inspired and have a lot of ideas to share. I keep meaning to mention that there was a viewer who messaged me to say that she had made her own cafe kitchen after watching one of my videos where I'd mentioned doing that, and I was really impressed by the fact that she had done that so like quickly and efficiently, and it sounded like she'd made a really lovely area in her house that I think it was her partner as well, could like enjoy together. And she said that it could be adapted for different things, like so that it could be used like as a cafe for them, but also like a reading nook. And yeah, I just wanted to say, like, I really appreciate when people share like their experiences and ideas and like any projects that they have actually like taken on and followed through, and it's lovely to hear that. And yeah, thanks for sharing that with me. Sorry if I still sound really congested, I've still got a cold and I think it's going away, but I'm just at that point where I'm still croaky. And I hope you have a really great day. Thanks for watching. Feel free to like, share, comment, subscribe, and I will see you soon. Bye. And there was another free activity that I meant to put in ages ago, and I feel like the moment for it has kind of passed now because it's so long ago that it can't really be included in my Halloween stuff. But we went to a sustainability fashion show in September, and I found it really inspiring because it was free entry. I took the girls with me. I think they were the only kids there, but they've got to that age now where they're quite sensible at things like that, so it was fine. And there was a little flower girl who was part of the fashion show, so they weren't totally alone. But it was an event like that was organized by a group of people that they basically got like a sewing community together to make clothes out of old garments, and then they had people modeling them, and it was so interesting seeing like the creativity involved and how they completely transformed all of these outfits. And I'll see if I have a clip to put in. I don't think I did much filming at it because I felt like it was the type of thing where you're just immersed in it when you're there. They were really like welcoming, and they had given out like wine and snacks. Like they kind of had these little hors d'oeuvres out for people, and it was a lovely free event to attend, and I just left feeling so inspired and wanting to be like braver about upcycling, repairing, and like making my own clothes. And yeah, I just wanted to mention that because it was like a nice community event. It was free to attend and it provided so much inspiration like even afterwards. So yeah.